I would like to welcome you all to the fall semester CSS seminar. We have the great pleasure of hosting one of our very own alumni who graduated recently from the Computational Social Science Master's program here at Koç University here in Yardı. I would like to briefly introduce him to you before I give the floor to Melih. Melih Yardı holds a bachelor's degree in political science and international relations and philosophy from Boğaziçi University. He specializes in social media, natural language processing, and social network analysis. His current work focuses on stance detection, online communication, political behavior, and public opinion and discourse. He is currently also a researcher at the Politis. With that, I will give the floor to Melih, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Rajan. Let me share my screen and start. So today I will be talking about web scraping. So the talk is entitled Advanced Web Scraping, but don't be intimidated by that. I will assume that you don't know anything about web scraping and start from the essentials. Let me start by going over the table of contents. We will start by defining what web scraping is. Then we will talk briefly about the ethical considerations and legal aspects of it. And then I will describe the main differences between collecting data from API and collecting data via scraping. Then the other conceptual section of this seminar is going to be about the main blocks of the web. So the web is created by several languages, and HTML is one of the main language that creates web pages. We will go deep into HTML. Then there's also CSS and JavaScript. JavaScript allows creating dynamic web pages, and we will talk about it later on while talking about dynamic web scraping. Then we will start rather the tutorial part of this seminar. We will write some code. We'll write Python code to scrape data. There will be two main sections. First, we will start by static web scraping. In that section, we will use two libraries. One of them is requests. It allows you to send HTTP requests to servers. And the other one is Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup allows you to parse the HTML. That's the main thing that we do in web scraping, basically parsing the HTML. That's why HTML is so crucial, so essential. We will talk about the elements of Beautiful Soup. I will show an example. For this seminar, I chose one specific website to do the scraping because of like ethical and legal considerations. I chose this website called Scrape This Site. I will show this again, but basically some people have created this website for people to practice their web scraping skills. So we will first start with the first example from this website. Then we will move on to the next section, which is dynamic web scraping. So basically, the JavaScript language allows web pages to be dynamic, like without changing the URL. You can click on buttons, do other things, etc. We will talk about them. In that section, we will use another Python library called Selenium. I will also show how you can set up a Chrome browser. And in that section, we will go over another example. And we will conclude the session with Q&A and some other resources. So here I have shared a QR code because like I created this Jupyter notebook and I would like to share it at the end of the tutorial. So please read this QR code, scan this QR code, so that it will direct you to a Google Forms, and by entering your email there, you will share your email with me, and then probably tomorrow I will share this Jupyter notebook with you. So with that said, we can start the seminar, the first section. What is web scraping? Web scraping is the automated process of extracting data from websites. It involves sending requests, parsing HTML, and extracting information. So we will go over these concepts one by one. But basically, what is crucial here is sending requests to a web page or a server, and then you get the HTML and you parse the HTML and extract whatever you want from that HTML, like whatever type of data you would like to get. One important thing that is not really discussed in web scraping tutorials is the ethical aspects and legal aspects of it. It is important, and I understand people usually don't care much about these aspects, but we should at least know what are they. So as researchers, we have to do our scraping responsibly. And in order to do so, we have to know what restrictions websites have. And most of the time, websites have a section called Terms of Service, TOS. I included two examples here. You can quickly check them maybe only the Twitter's Terms of Service. So basically in Terms of Service, it's not only about web scraping, but they include a part that talk about scraping or crawling, like the limits of it. For example, here in Twitter's Terms of Service, okay, this is better. So in the section misuse of the services, they explicitly say that crawling or scraping the services in any form for any purpose without our prior written consent is expressly prohibited. So most of the time they prohibit scraping or crawling websites. That's why they usually have an API. We'll talk about APIs later on. But for now, it's important to know that when you want to scrape a site, you should first read their terms of service. Then there's also another concept called robots.txt. This is a file that each website has, and it is usually like at the end of when you write it at the end of the URL, you will be directed to there. And this file specifies which parts of the website are restricted for bots. Like, for example, like you can think of Google, for example. They are also crawling websites, but they are allowed to crawl some parts of the website and not other parts. So this file basically shows you which parts you can crawl and which parts are allowed and which parts are disallowed. You should also check the robots.txt file. It is usually about crawling, and by crawling I mean like you can think of the difference between crawling and scraping. That's at least how I think of it. Crawling is usually going over different websites. Scraping is like collecting data from a single website. And robots.txt file usually concerns those who crawl websites like Google. But still, it's important to know that such a file exists. So what are the best practices in scraping? You should use these tools responsibly. You should read the website's policies. When you collect data from somewhere, you should attribute the source. You should cite them and clearly indicate them how you will use the collected data, especially if you are collecting the data for research purposes. And the last section of this, the first part is the difference between APIs and scraping. So they are both methods for collecting data, but they differ in some senses. First, like I should say that if API is available for a website, I would recommend using it because it is usually much easier. You don't have to parse the HTML. They create a documentation. They tell you how you can collect data, which data you can collect. But there are some restrictions of APIs. For example, they have certain endpoints that you need to use. And you cannot like in web scraping, for example, you can collect whatever you see on the web page, but in API you probably cannot do that. And also you are usually limited by what we call rate limits. For example, let's say you are collecting tweets from Twitter. They tell you like in 15 minutes or in an hour you can get this much tweets. Then like if you have collected that, you have to wait until that 1 hour window is completed. Like there are some rate limits. But again, like if API is available, I would recommend using API instead of web scraping. If not, I will show you today how you can do web scraping. So let's move on to the second section. So web scraping is a tool, is a method to collect data, but in order to do so, you have to know how web works, how the what is behind like the web page that we are seeing, like and these are basically there are three building blocks. The main one, the most basic one probably is HTML. It provides the structure and content of a web page. I will go over the examples, but let's continue with CSS. So HTML just provides the structure and some basic texts, for example. CSS gives its appearance, like which color is the text going to be, what is its font size, etc. And lastly, JavaScript. JavaScript is a rather new technology compared to the other languages. It allows interactivity and dynamic behavior. For example, let's go over the examples one by one. Here in the first example, this is an HTML, small script of an HTML. There are these tags. I will go over them. So in the first tag, sorry, they define a title. Then there's a paragraph in P tag, and then there is an A tag, and this is usually used for links or URLs. So this is a basic HTML script. Then there is CSS. In CSS, for example, there is a style tag. I mean, this is an HTML tag, but CSS uses it so that you can give your text. So this is here we are using the H1 tag, and it gives it's the color blue, and it makes it 24 pixels. And lastly, JavaScript. JavaScript, as I said, adds interactivity and dynamic behavior. For example, here in this example, there is again a script tag. Inside it, a function is defined. It is called read. And whenever this function is called, it says it will alert hello world. And then there's a button created here. And when the button is clicked, this function will call and it will alert hello world, basically. So this is how you create a button in JavaScript. So these are the three main languages to create a web page, and we will learn how to parse these languages and mainly HTML to get the information we need. But also, like this is the static web scraping part. Also, in the dynamic web scraping, we will learn how to click on the buttons, for example. So let's go over HTML quickly. HTML, as I said, is really important because most of the time in scraping, what we do is to parse the HTML. So HTML consists of tags mainly. There are some common tags used. I will not go into very much detail about the tags, but at least you have to have some familiarity with what they mean and what they do. There is the div tag. It is a container, and it is used for layout and grouping. And then there is span tag. This is another container. This is an inline container for text and other elements. A tag, we have seen that before. It is used for defining hyperlinks or URLs links. There is img tag for images, etc. There is a table and list tags. Let me show you a quick example. For example, let's go to Ekşi Sözlük and choose any topic here. So I will show this later on, but basically in Google Chrome, there is this inspect function. By using it, you can see the HTML behind a web page. So here I right-clicked and choose inspect, and it shows me a different page here, a tab, and it's called elements. And inside here, there's the HTML. So there are some common tags, as I showed earlier. There's the div tag here. It is a container. For example, this one has ID. I will go over them. Like this is an attribute, ID attribute, etc. Another tag here is H1. This is for the titles. Let's see what else we have. For example, we have the A tag for the link, span tag here. We should have like UL and LI tags somewhere to like for different entries. So UL here, UL is for the lists. Let's remember here, UL and LI, for example, are used for defining lists. Here, UL tag is used for entry item list, for example, and LI corresponds to each entry. So this is basically how you do scraping. For example, if you would like to scrape this page from Ekşi Sözlük, you need to go right-click, choose inspect, and see what elements you have here, and then collect those elements basically. And we will do that in a second. Next, we have HTML attributes. So we have talked about HTML text. Then we have HTML attributes. Attributes provide additional information to elements. Like, for example, I showed you ID attribute. One of the div elements here had ID. Actually, most of the elements tags usually have ID attribute. You don't need to know them in detail, but knowing knowing the difference between a tag and attribute is important. Then there are like class attribute, href attribute. Href is usually in A tags. Then there's src alt attributes. Then HTMLs usually have a hierarchy. As you can also see here, there's like parent tags and child tags. So they are in some hierarchy. Why is it important? Sometimes, especially when using Beautiful Soup, when you are parsing the HTML, you may want to get some item and then get the next item, or get the child tag of the one that you chose. So this is why you need to know like these concepts. There's the parent element. For example, here in this example, div is parent. It is parent of the H1 and P. H1 and P are the children of div elements. And there is the sibling concept. H1 and P are in the same line, so they are siblings. Lastly, HTML has selectors. This is rather maybe a little advanced concept, but basically HTML selectors allow you to select the element that you would like to choose. For example, when you try to get the div element with class header, you can use this selector, but like in Beautiful Soup or in Selenium, there are some syntaxes that you can do that, and we will come to there. So we can just skip here. And lastly, there's this a real-world HTML example. Actually, I have already shown many examples, so we don't need to go over it again. Now we can move on to the next section, static web scraping, and that's where we start writing some code. As I said, there are static web pages, dynamic web pages. Like almost all web pages in the current age are dynamic most of the time. Static web pages are usually old, and like actually there are like most pages combine these two attributes. Like they are both static and dynamic in some different aspects. But to collect some static, like to collect data from some static web page, we usually use two Python libraries. One of them is requests, the other one is beautiful soup. So request is a library to send HTTP requests to get the web page's content. What is an HTTP request? It is a communication method used by a client, which can be your Python script or your web browser like Chrome or Mozilla, for example. It is a communication method used by a client to interact with the server, asking it to send back specific data or perform an action. So there are many HTTP request methods, but two of the most important, actually in our case, like there's one method that we are really interested in, which is get request. Get request is used to retrieve data from a server. And this is what we will do with the request library. And then there's, for example, post request. Post is when you try to submit data to another server. When you do these requests, you will encounter with some status codes. One of the most familiar one to us would be probably 404. That is the negative error, like not found error. But the one that will make us happy is going to be 200, which is success. So when your request is successful, when you fetch the data that you are trying to get, you get 200. When you couldn't, you get 404. It can have different reasons, but also, for example, if the reason that you are not getting the data is from the server side, you get 500. So you can just Google the HTTP status codes to like learn more like different status codes, but these are the most common ones. And lastly, once you get the content you are trying to get from the website, you will probably get an HTML, and you need to parse it. And to parse it, we use Beautiful Soup. It is for parsing HTML and XML documents, and it makes it easy to extract and navigate web page elements. So we can now start writing some code. As I said, I will use this website called Scrape This Site. There's this sandbox option here. Let me also send it through the chat. So let me first share this. And we will start with the first example. This is just an example web page that some people have created to for people to practice their web scraping skills. Let me send it to. Okay. So as I said, when you are scraping some data from a website, the first thing you do is to understand the structure of the website, and it is usually by looking at its HTML structure. So to do so, I right-click and select Inspect, which creates this window. So and when you go over these items here, you see which one corresponds to which. Also, you can like click on this button here, which will allow you to go over the web page, and it will show you the corresponding HTML code. So we are interested in scraping the data here. These are some information about countries of the world. We have the capital, population, and area. Let's say we are trying to collect them into a table, make it a tabular data. So I need to understand which elements correspond to which data here. So first thing, for example, let's say we found here like there's the div tags and their class are row, right? So for example, one of them is here, and we are interested in that. There's other ones, but also like before them, there are other div elements with the same class. Like if I would like to select the div element with the class row, I will encounter with them as well. So I need to check at this point like other options. What available options I have here. So when I look at the other elements, I see a div tag with the class attribute of call MD for country. So as you can see, it corresponds to the first country in this table, in this list. Then the second one also corresponds to the second one. So this looks like useful for our case. So we can use just this div tag with this class to get all the countries from this web page. So let's start doing that. First, we need to import the two libraries I mentioned. If you are using Jupyter Lab, like if you have downloaded Anaconda, actually, request is a Python library, Python's built-in library. So if you have Python, you have requests. Beautiful Soup, on the other hand, is not Python's built-in library, but if you are using Jupyter Notebook, you probably have Beautiful Soup because like Anaconda has it somehow it has most common data science libraries, and Beautiful Soup is one of them. And you import Beautiful Soup by writing from BS4 import Beautiful Soup. So we have imported the libraries. By the way, I also have another notebook here which has all the codes written. I'll share this one with you. But for this tutorial, I would like to write the code myself as much as I can. So what we need to do first, we have to send a request to this web page and get its content, right? So like before being able to parse the HTML, we need to get the HTML. And in order to do so, I write request.get, then the URL here. And if you are using Jupyter Notebook, one shortcut is Shift Tab. It shows you which available parameters you have for this function. The first parameter here is URL, and it is enough for our case. I will just copy the URL here and make it into define a variable called URL and put the URL here. And like it's not enough to send the request. We have to save it into some Python object. I will call it response. So this is the code we wrote here. I just copied the URL, sent the request to this URL, and saved the response to response. So as I said, once you send the request, there are possibilities of getting different status codes. You can either get 200, which is good, you have successfully got the data, or you may get other status codes, which will indicate that you didn't get the data. And in order to check so, you can just use, and this is another shortcut, by the way, response dot, I wrote response dot and clicked on tab button. When you clicked on tab, you see the, I think these are called functions, I'm not sure, but you see the available functions here. And I would like to get the status code here. So I can also put it inside print. Here you see our response status code is 200, which means we have successfully got the content. So inside response, we have the response of this request. Next, we will parse the HTML. In order to parse the HTML, we will use Beautiful Soup. And like this is a response object, and this has several other attributes. One of them is content, I guess, yes. And another one of them is text, I think. I don't remember the difference between them. I think one of them is a byte object. Sorry, it's just a second. Yes, one of them is like content is a byte object. The other one is just text, and that's not really important. You can use either of them. Let me see, what did I use in the other code? Okay, I used text. So response.text gives you the text of the response, basically. You can, let me try to print it and see if it's, yeah, if it's printed in like HTML structure. So basically we got the HTML here, like Whatever you see here on the right-hand side, you got in your response object, you got the HTML, and we would like to parse it. In order to do so, I will put it in Beautiful Soup. And okay, I will call it soup. That's just a convention. Like usually, you use response to when you when you send a request, and you call it soup when you put it in Beautiful Soup. And let's see what parameters we have in Beautiful Soup. So the first one is markup. It will be response.text here, and then you can let me see, just a second. Okay, the second one, I guess, the features. Anyway, so as I said, Beautiful Soup can parse both HTML and XML documents. And right now we are parsing HTML. So this is the default. So you don't have to write this, but you can, just to make sure, you can add HTML.parser here, so that Beautiful Soup knows that you are trying to parse an HTML. So we have the soup object here. It is just same as HTML that we just got from the response. But right now we can use the soup object to parse the HTML. Like by parsing, I mean we can select which tags we would like to use, which tags with which attributes we would like to get, etc. We can now start parsing this HTML. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Okay. So right now we have this HTML in our hands. And as I said, we have found here that one useful tag and attribute here is the div, and its class is this. I will just copy it. And so soup has find and find all attributes. I think these are called attributes. So find gives you the first element that it matches. In this case, we would like to find all elements that we are going to search for. And for that, I will use find all. And what I'm trying to find, I'm trying to find all the elements that has the tag div and that has this class. So how I write it, first, you can also check the parameters here. You write the name, this is the tag here, and then you can write the attributes. This can be more explicit like this, but let's write this way for now. Okay, I want the tag div, and I want the class this. So I want the attribute class this. Okay, this one gives me a list. And this list is composed of 250 elements, which means like I have collected all the items here. There are 250 elements here. So this is a list that I will use. Let's look at the first element, for example, first item in this list. So this corresponds to this item that I selected here, and inside it there's h3 and div. Let's check. There's h3. Also under h3 there's I tag. There's another div tag here, etc. So I like in each item in this list, I have the information about the country here. So what I'd like to do is to I can put this list into a new variable, define a new variable, and then like write a for loop to go over this list and get the information I need here. So I will call this country. You can call it whatever you want, but let me see. So I previously called it country elements. Okay. So as I said, this is a list composed of 250 elements. Now I'd like to get the elements, like get the capital, population, and area of the countries. How will I do that? So first, we can get the country's name. This actually looks better. So here I have this tag here. I'd like to get the country's name, which is inside H3 tag, and it is written as a text. So how will I get it? Let's choose this as an example. Country. Country.find. I would like to just find one element, and it is the first element here, like it is just H3. It gives me the element with tag H3, and then you can just write text, which is fine, but it is like it has to be processed. You have some new lines here, some empty spaces here. So a better method to use is, I think it was called get text. Yes. And inside it, you can use strip, and it just cleans the data for you automatically. So here, this is how we will get the country's name. So let's call this name. So we are just like before writing the loop, actually in the meantime, I can write the loop as well for country in country elements. First, I will get the name. So I checked it and it worked. It worked for the first element. So I can just write it inside the for loop so that it will go over all the elements in that list. So name will be this. I have successfully got the name for all the countries. So let's move on to other information. So we want capital. Let's see where capital is. So inside this development, there's another development with class country info. Then there's a strong text and span text. Like I'm not interested in strong text because the span tag already has the text that I'm looking for, and also it has the class here defined, and I can get the class like I can get whatever I'm trying to collect. Like I'm trying to get the capital, and it is written already in the class here. So what will I do? I will try to find the span element which has attribute class country capital. So let's find span. Its attributes is going to be class country capital. Let's see if it will work. Okay, it worked. I get the element I want. Again, I can use just text, but a better method is to use get text strip equals true. So this is the capital. I'm writing capital here. Okay. The rest just looks pretty much the same. I can just copy and paste them. Like here, I'm interested in population. I'd like to get country population attribute and get the text here. So I will just copy and paste them. Population. Let's see if it worked. Yes, it worked. Then lastly, we have country area. Let's see. This one worked as well. So I can just copy and paste them here. These were just to like try with one country. This was just an example. Now I'm interested in collecting all this information for all countries. So I'm just deleting them. Right now in this for loop, I'm doing what I'm trying to do. And what we need to do is to, while we are collecting data, we need to somehow save it somewhere. In Python, we can use list for this. So I'm defining a list called country list. And I would like to append all these items into country list. One good method here is to use a dictionary. Let's say, let's just write the dictionary. Name is going to name, like This is the string name, and this is the country's name. This is a variable. Capital is going to be capital. And this, I would like to append this dictionary to country list. Let's see if it will work. It didn't, because I forgot to write append. Okay, now I have a list. It has 250 elements in it, and the first element looks like this. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. I have successfully scraped this information about Andorra into a list of dictionaries. Now, a better way to store small data is to use pandas data frames. So I'm adding here importing pandas. This is also another convention. You usually import pandas as PD, and I'd like to create a data frame. It is just really easy. You just put the list into data frame, and it creates it for you. Let me call it country df. Another convention is calling data frames df. So here I have a data frame. I have successfully collected all the elements from this web page into a pandas data frame, a table. An optional thing is to save this data frame into either Excel or CSV or whatever you want. Like I would recommend JSON, for example. Like instead of making it into a table, you could just write the list into a JSON file, etc. You will find how you can do this in the Jupyter Notebook. I will share it with you. Now I would like to move on to the next section. I will be quicker. So dynamic web scraping. This is also really important and a little harder than static web scraping. So it is built upon JavaScript, which means like when the HTML source code is loaded, there can be some data that is not loaded yet, and you do it by like clicking buttons, scrolling down, etc. And this is thanks to JavaScript. And in order to collect data in this way, in a dynamic way, we are going to use Selenium. I can quickly go over this. Like Selenium is the Python library we will use. There is also the WebDriver library, and its function is to make it easier for you to set up your WebDriver. Here, I will show you how you can set up a Chrome WebDriver. You can use other drivers as well. So there are two ways. You can either manually set up your Chrome driver. This is what I'm doing in this Jupyter Notebook, by the way. Or you can just automatically set up by using WebDriver Manager library. Here I've already provided the code, like if you would like to try it. And it is much easier, but somehow in my environment, I cannot use this automatic methods. Therefore, I'm manually setting up. Let me show you. This is actually harder, so it's better to show this one. I've written the steps here. You just go to this URL, select stable, and then depending on the operating system you use, you need to download the Chrome driver. So I'm using a Windows operating system. I'm so copying this link and like I downloaded WebDriver. So let's see next steps. You have to download and unzip the file. Inside that there will be a file called chromedriver.exe. Sorry. So inside this download folder, maybe I'm not sharing the whole screen. Let me share it. Okay. Inside, so this is a zipped file. You have to extract it. When you extract it, you will see inside that there is a Chrome driver.exe file. You can just use this file's path, or you can just copy it. This is what I did. You can copy this file into the same directory that you are running your Jupyter Notebook. So my Jupyter Notebook is here. So I copied the Chrome driver here. So once you do that, you can use this little code block here. Like you can just import Selenium, define the executable path in service as Chrome driver.exe. So it will read this file, and this will allow you to create a web browser. So this is more technical part, but it is important because like sometimes you mess up as I did. Like I cannot use this one, although it is easier. You don't have to download anything. Chrome Driver Manager or like WebDriver Manager library does it for you. But if it doesn't work, you can use this one. Okay, so let me see what code did I have here. Oh, I didn't. Okay. I directly go to the example, and this is the last thing we do. There is no code here. So I'm moving on to the second example from the same website. This is about Oscar-winning films. So this is another example web page they created. As you can see, there's no data here yet because this HTML or this website has JavaScript behind it, and in order to make things available, you have to click on buttons. Here, there are some buttons. So you have to choose the year to view the films. I click on 2015, for example, then it shows me a table. Like using requests and Beautiful Soup, you cannot do that. You have to like click on something. In order to do so, you need Selenium. And right now we will learn how to do this. Let me first import the libraries. So Selenium has many functions, many things that you need to import. It is good to have them somewhere and like copy them whenever you need them. So you will definitely need a web driver. Options is not crucial, but it is good to import it. You will need the service because you are going to define your the path of your driver. You may need this by object. I will show you what it does. Also, WebDriver weight is not. You can import it, and it can be useful in some cases, and it is usually used with the expected conditions. So these are the required library imports. I will just copy them here to here. Okay, so I already have the code for setting up the driver. Let me also copy them from here. So basically what we are doing here is that we are creating a Chrome browser. You will see that it will be created in a moment. And you can define some options here. For example, what options do we have? I remember you can create a browser with incognito mode, like this one, or you can create headless browsers, which are really useful if you are working in servers. If you are working with, in somewhere that doesn't have a GUI, you may need headless browsers. So these options can be important. So I will run this code, and you will see that a new browser is created. This is just an empty browser. And then, as we did in the request library, you can just copy the URL and use this time driver.get. And when you run this, the browser that you have created is navigated to this website. So right now in the browser we created, we have opened the website. Then what we are trying to do here is to like again we need to, so there are these buttons here, and they are also in the HTML code of the web page. Let's see where are they. So here I found a div element. Inside it there's h3. We are not interested in that because this is the headline, the title here. We are interested in these a elements. they have the class yearling and they have different IDs. So in this scenario, you can have many different options to get them. I will show them, but let's see. We can just, I'll not go over WebDriver.wait. Okay, so there are basically three options. Just manually write the IDs here, and then collect the A tags with the corresponding IDs. So this is the first option here. It is rather manual. You may not prefer it, but maybe it is, if you know about the ID attribute, it can be more familiar to you. So let's try it. So basically, what I'm using driver to find the element by its ID, and I'm using the, for example, driver to find element by ID, and I want 2015. So it found the web element that I'm looking for. We can check by its text. So this is the element here. This is the 2015 button. So by using a list comprehension here, you can get all other buttons. So another option could be using the class attribute. As you can see here, we have classes and they are called yearling. So you can just use by class name and get yearling. Another more advanced option, but I'll definitely recommend you to check out, is XPath and CSS selectors. So let me show you how you can copy CSS selector. Once you open this inspect window, you can right click on elements, and then there's this copy option here. Here you can select the selector, copy XPath, copy full XPath. So these can be useful, especially for more complex web pages, like when the HTML is more complex than this one. Here it is a little too advanced. I will not use them. Let's just use the first option. And once we run this code, we have all the buttons. Now we are going to need to click on these buttons, and then by clicking on them, it will open the tables. Let me first click on the first button, year button 0, button 0. Then just click method. We'll click on it. Let me show you. As you can see, I didn't click. I just run the code. It clicked on the first button. Now, again, as in the previous example, I would like to do it inside the for loop. What I would like to do is to click on the buttons one by one, and once the table is loaded, I would like to get the items in this table. So for this, I'm using like a for loop, and I'm using the functions of Selenium's WebDriver. I already showed like some examples of it, so I will not go over them. And I will already share this Jupyter notebook with you. You can just check them. But let me just copy this and run this here. So the for loop is running right now, and it clicks on the buttons by itself, and then collects the table into a list. And I added a like sleep time of 3 seconds between each item. So it waits a little, then moves on to the next one. And it is completed. And at the end, I think, okay, it's put them into a list. Now we have a list called movies. Let's see the first item here. So again, this is a dictionary. We can just put it inside a pandas data frame. This is how the data frame looks like. We have 87 movies here, and all of their information are collected. Then last thing I will show you is to, like, since you have opened a driver here, opened a new browser here, the best way to close it to use either driver.close or driver.quit. So running driver.quit closes that browser. So that's all I'm going to talk about. Maybe just quickly going over this further learning materials. Like I already mentioned some of them, but so the tutorials here were rather basic because like I tried to teach the essentials, try to teach the basics, but when you work on yourself, like work on your own, you will encounter with many errors, many problems. So web scraping can be challenging sometimes, but there are some like let me mention some things that you can check. As I said earlier, API is another method for collecting data, and whenever API is available, I recommend you to use the API. It is much easier. Also, there's something that I didn't show in the inspect page here. When you right click and open inspect, you see there's this another button called network. This this one here shows you the network activity. So especially when using a web page with JavaScript, you can whenever you click on some button, it usually doesn't change something, but behind the web page you are sending another request. So this network tab shows you those requests and responses. I recommend you to go over those requests and responses and like learn how they work. It can make your life much easier actually than like trying to parse the HTMLs. So there will be, as I said, there will be some challenges. You will need to like infinitely scroll. I'm doing it, for example, while collecting data from certain web pages. You need to load new posts, and in order to do so, you have to scroll down infinitely, etc. There will be some challenges. I recommend you to like try it on your own. You can ask me your questions whenever you want. And also like there are some other things you can use. For example, scraping can be scheduled. Like since web is really dynamic, every second people post some tweets, some uh, posts on other websites. You can like collect data in a scheduled manner, and especially if you are a Linux user, you can use cron jobs for this. Like cron jobs allows you to run certain processes or run certain Python scripts, for example, in a scheduled manner, like each hour, each minute, etc. So this is part of the web scraping tasks, I guess. And lastly, logging is something that I have recently understood the importance of. Whenever you are running some Python script, I recommend you to like keep some logs, like in every step, whatever you are doing, like just save them, and it will allow you to see when you get the error, why you get the error. It's important to keep the logs, and these are some recommendations I had, and we can complete the seminar here and get your questions if you have any.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was really useful. So virtual questions if you have. We'll start with our, if you had any questions, we'll start with you. If not, then we'll proceed to the online participants. That's all right. The chat is disabled.
It was 1 hour ago, by the way.
Yeah. I have difficulty hearing you. Do you still have difficulty? Maybe the mic is not that
Maybe
close
so.
to me. Yeah. That might be the reason. But I mean, good to see people can type in. Can you? Okay, you can read it out loud if you want.
Okay, this is a question I'm be able to answer right away, but the question is, can you tell us more about captcha handling? That's a really challenging task, and I didn't do it yet in any of my jobs in after tax. I cannot tell anything about captcha handling.
Sorry about that. Maybe we can ask ChatGPT.
Yes. Yes.
Could be divided into pages or something.
Uh,
The length of the code,
hmm.
the length of the HTML or something.
Yes, yes. Okay, I can show that. I will come to Mustafa's question in a second, but let me quickly answer the question here. Yes, you're right. I haven't showed how to scroll down. This is one of the tasks we can use in dynamic web pages. So basically, when you create a web browser, let's create it again here. This is not a page I can scroll down. Let's use H35, suppose. So in order to scroll down, there are some different methods. One is to simulate your keyboard. So in your keyboard, there are some buttons called home and end. When I click on end, it scrolls like to the bottom of the page. When I click home, it scrolls to the start of the page. And you can just simulate those keyboard movements. I usually forgot the code for it. I will Google it. Selenium Python. By the way, I also shared the documentation at the beginning of the tutorial. Like you can always use documentations. Scroll down, and usually Stack Overflow will answer your questions. But these are not send keys on that. So driver has, yeah, these are a little more complex than the one I wanted to show. Okay, I think this is the one I'm looking for. Driver.send keys, I guess. This one is probably like scrolling down to the bottom of the page. Yes. So I'm here at the start of beginning of the page. When I click it, it scrolls down to the bottom of the page. This is one method. You can just scroll down to the bottom or to the beginning, but also you can scroll by pixel values. Again, you can just Google it. Like since it is composed of pixels, whatever you see, you can just scroll down 100 pixels, scroll down to that point, etc. So you can just Google it and find it. It's really easy. You can just use the attributes of the driver.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
There are It's possible to scrape YouTube video transcripts. As far as I know, YouTube has an API and it gives you the YouTube video transcripts. You don't have to scrape them. But if not, I don't think it is easy to scrape the transcripts. Like it can be easy to scrape other parts of the video, like its title, its time, etc. But the captions, the transcripts is I don't know how to transcript them, to be honest. But if I'm not mistaken, YouTube has an API and it gives you the transcript. The next question, if you script a website and do not know its policy, do they allow or no? What would happen? Because you have mentioned it is important to check legality. Yes, you're right. So about this question, I should say I can say at least this. So what we are doing here in Python is actually very similar to what we do with our browsers. So when and actually Selenium is a proof of it. Like in Selenium, I just create a web browser, just go to some URL, click on buttons. This is pretty much what I do without using Python. So what's important here is when you do these actions in a more robotic way, in a more mechanical way, they can realize that you are doing something with their website. And like maybe in addition to the legal aspect of it, I don't think like uh, something will happen, especially if you're not living in the US. Like nowadays, for example, you can check Twitter is uh, very strict about scraping their scraping policies. But for example, here from like scraping some websites from here in Turkey, I don't think you will get in trouble. But there is also another aspect of it. In addition to the legal aspect, there is the ethical aspect of it. Like whichever website you are trying to scrape, uh, they have some like there are some owners of this website, and they uh, gives you this service, and this service is somehow limited. Like sending requests one after another will create problems for that server, for their server, and it makes it ethically a bad action, basically. Uh, but like in terms of legality, uh, again, you should just check the terms of service, check their policies, try to use API if possible. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much. Any questions from our online participants? Well, if not, a big thank you also to the audience for their engaging discussion questions. And once again, thank you so very much, Melih, for this really useful seminar. With that,
Thank you.
I guess we can wish everyone a happy 2025 already. And we hope to have another seminar before the semester ends. So stay tuned and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.